Hoffman, and you're listening to Big T and Little T, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 64. Today we're going to be talking about episode 12 of Bad Batch, which is Rescue on Ryloth. So, unfortunately, Little T can't join me today, but the show must go on, and we are going to dive right into it. So, big week this week. We did a lot of fun stuff. Saw some Space Jam. I think it's Space Jam. I call it Space Jam too. I think it's Space Jam Legacy. But we had a great time watching Space Jam. It was super fun seeing the crew back together. Obviously, Michael's not there, but LeBron, I thought did a decent job. I mean, this is not an Oscar-worthy movie, but it was fun. A lot of great background characters, even better than I would say like Ready Player One or anything like that. It was really cool seeing a lot of different cartoons from the Warner Brother catalog, and they had a couple of movie cameos like The Matrix and Game of Thrones and Harry Potter and all that kind of stuff. So that was super cool. That was super fun. But yeah, it was a great movie. So watch that this weekend. Okay, got to talk about Shin Godzilla for a half a second. So Trent and I have been on this Godzilla kick for a little bit, and he's been watching these videos about like how they compare to the different Godzillas, and he mentioned this Shin Godzilla. I was like, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is. And then my buddy Armand, who does a podcast, Syndicate, uh, he just reviewed Shin Godzilla like last week. And so listen to that. I'm like, I have to watch this movie. So it's essentially a Japanese movie that came out in 2016, and it is the 31st installment of Godzilla. But man, this one is totally awesome. And what makes it a little bit different is like Godzilla kind of evolves. So I'm not going to give too much away if you want to go see it or want to rent it or whatever. Or it, but yeah, this movie I saw it twice over the weekend. It is so good. I would highly recommend it, and it's so much better than King Kong versus Godzilla. It's a little bit slower, and I think that's why I like it is because it talks about the like political and the just how the government of Japanese is working with like what when they see this creature, like what is it and all this kind of stuff. And so anyways, it's got this deep undertone that most Godzillas do, but this one really kind of sticks it to about like weapons of mass destruction and what we should do about it. And Godzilla is just like a boss on this one, and I just love how the creature is designed and the evolution of the creature. Yeah, it is definitely worth a watch. So yeah, so I watched that twice this weekend. It was so good. And then Sunday was Money in the Bank WWE. I'm not going to go through all the matches, but it was super fun seeing wrestling in front of a live audience, and there was quite a few matches on the card. A little long in the tooth, but the big storyline here was Radar Superstar Edge against Roman Reigns for the Universal title. And it was quite the match. You could definitely tell Edge is a seasoned veteran here, and there was a lot of great storytelling, a lot of slow, deliberate pacing of this match, and then it heats up. It gets a little crazy. We have a couple run-ins. We have the Usos come in, but then the Mysterios, Ray and his son, come and take them out. And then Seth Rollins shows up, comes out of the crowd, kicks Edge, and sets that up, and then he kind of leaves. The ref Charles Robinson got hurt, which was legit. He got run into, and his knee kind of buckled, and so they had to get another ref. Lots of stuff going on. It was really a great match. But the story of the night is how it ended is the fact that basically Edge gets Edge gets the loss here. Roman pins him. Um, but then John Cena makes the debut back. He's back in wrestling, and so it was just super cool. Huge pop when he shows up, and yeah, he kind of makes his presence known. They cut off the air. There's a couple things like behind the scenes that you can watch like on WWE or whatever, but he just thanks the crowd and stuff like that. But it just basically, typical wrestling fashion, just gets right up in front of Roman's face, and he does, you can't see me. It was cool. It was cool seeing John Cena back. So yeah, he's gonna be wrestling again. It's something I'm sure SummerSlam looks to be stacked, and then even on Raw, my man Goldberg shows up, and so Goldberg's gonna be going after Bobby Lashley. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty cool card. I'm sure there's still some surprises left to be had at SummerSlam, but yeah, John Cena being back is kind of cool. Okay, gotta talk about Star Wars High Republic, The Rising Storm by Cavan Scott. It came out, when did it come out? It came out in, I believe, the end of June. And so I've been hitting this book hard. I've been doing the audio. Mark Thompson is killing it. And I just finished it today. Oh my gosh, really love what Kevin Scott's done. Kind of a lot of world building, really setting the tone for the High Republic and the Nihil and the Jedi, and it's a really good second book, I guess, in this kind of series. And I know they're doing multiple authors, so I'm really interested to see where this third book kind of picks up on this main story. There's quite a few literature out there, comics, young adult novels, but this is the adult novel, if you will, and kind of the main story. And so yeah, it's High Republic, Rising Storm. You have to check that out. It is just fantastic, super cool. If you're not really sure about it, I would highly recommend the audio book versions. They're really well done, and it sometimes is easier to absorb. Just in the Star Wars universe, there's a lot going on, but when it's narrated and you understand their separate characters and all that kind of stuff, I don't know. Sometimes for me, it's a little bit easier to picture and imagine and all that kind of fun stuff, and it really helps with just retain, kind of understanding what's going on with the story. But yeah, but so that's been our week, and so let's just dive right into it. We have the rescue on Ryloth, and yeah, this is very interesting show because it's like directly after Bad Batch of where we left off last time, where we kind of do an arms deal on this moon. They're trying to help out the rebels on Ryloth, and turns out that Hera gets captured during this process, and then Cham and his wife try to rescue Hera, which they do. But then with Crosshair there, he essentially takes out Orn Free Taa, which is a senator, and frames Cham. And so Rampart, Vice Admiral Rampart, is doing his evil doings. And Hauser, who is a clone that fought with Cham in the Clone Wars, understands truly how evil the Empire is. And so yeah, it's just a very interesting kind of thing that happens there. And so that's the setup for Ryloth, Rescue on Ryloth for this. So it's files right after. So now we're following Hera, and so this is what happens here is that Hera starts off, and it's kind of like she's just doing some scouting, and yeah, it's interesting to see that she understands right away that where her parents are at it's very fortified, and she needs a little help. And so her and Chopper do a little recon, but then it is ready to. She like needs a little help, so she reaches out to Omega, and the crew is already leaving the system, but they get this message, and Hunter's like, "You gave her the secure comm channel here," but he basically is kind of lays off a little bit on Omega, and she's like, "Hey, she needs our help." They're not totally convinced, but they go back anyways and see what the issue is. Hera explains, "Hey, my family's captured, need a little help," and Hunter and the crew are like, "Yeah, I don't know about this." But if we're gonna do a little Fast and Furious 9 or whatever, as Vin Diesel would say, would be like with family. So there's a family element there. Omega would essentially Omega convinces Hunter and says, "Hey, just like Dom would say, it's like we're family. We would do this for our family, and we need to make this happen for Hera and try to figure this out." They do another recon, just like Hera did on the same kind of cliff, looking into the where they're captured, and probe droid. So we have the Imperial probe droid. If you're not familiar, that is the droid that Han and Chewie blow up in Empire Strikes Back, and made a cameo in Rogue One. But the probe droid is in, I guess, the Viper probe droids are in Solo, but the probe droid is used for, just that, surveillance, and they spotted them. So now the Bad Batch is kind of known that they're there, and so we have all that kind of stuff happening with the Bad Batch. So they have to come up with a different approach since they know that the Empire knows that they're there. So they kind of do a two front approach, and it's like trying to figure out what is going to happen with the Bad Batch, as far as like, okay, how are we going to make this two-prong approach with only the limited resources they have. They know that they could do this, but it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. And so that's kind of what they kind of scheme at, and it's interesting to see what we can do with this. So they have to figure out what this rescue plan is going to be. Chopper is sent behind the lines to kind of help take out the turrets, because they want to bring in a shuttle to help kind of this escape. And it's kind of cool what they do, but I love Chopper being this kind of secret agent man, and so Chopper gets involved, and they understand like there's this kind of crew change, shift change with them, and so he kind of comes on in, and that's where Hera and Omega are with Chopper, and then the big boys are trying to get into the Citadel to rescue Cham and the wife and all that. But they're at where Omega and Hera are essentially a weapons kind of refinery thing, and so they're gonna just have a little fun and try to make some havoc there. It's interesting to see where this goes, but I love that Chopper basically takes out a droid, figures out what's going on, and then the troopers find out, and Chopper shocks them and gets in there. It's really interesting to see how this plays out. Really love the interaction between Omega and Hera and Chopper. Again, like I said, Chopper is like my favorite droid. But yeah, we have that set up, and then so this blows up. It kind of caused all this distraction, and so now the reinforcements from the main base are going over to the refinery, and this is where Crosshair is puts the old thinking cap on and says, "Hey, this is a distraction," and it's going to be interesting that actually, Crosshair is like, "Hey, I am not going to move with the sheep, and I'm going to stay back. My crew's going to stay back. We got to figure this out. We know that they're trying to rescue Syndulla, and Champ Syndulla and stuff." So they kind of set up they narrow it down, like the only way they get out is this one way, and so we're just gonna. They got a bunch of clone troopers. They got these cool shields, and they're really like riot shields, and they're just gonna set up camp and do that. And so they're basically cornered. Hauser, this is where Hauser comes in. Hauser also has a skinny and understands like something else is going on. He goes down to the cell. He meets the Bad Batch and says, "Hey, we're friends and we can do this, but I'm going to go a different route." And essentially, they give him he's going to go out the main gate or the back gate where all the troopers are at, and then the Bad Batch with Syndulla's and a couple other people are going to escape from this kind of private like kind of shuttle. It's going to be very interesting to see. The next little part for me is what is really really cool is Hauser has this moment of clarity and says, "You know what? I am not going to do this." He has this great speech and essentially tries to rally his other clones and say, "Hey, we're here to free Ryloth, and now we're here keeping, putting them, we're taking away that freedom." And so he has this interesting speech, and I really wish the sequel trilogy would have expanded on this, especially with Finn. I know that's not a new idea, but I just wish that they had an opportunity to expand that and have like a little stormtrooper revolution. And essentially, that's the pitch with Hauser. Like, hey, I am, I am going to do this, and I'm going to stand my ground. I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And who's going to join me? And surprisingly, a couple of clone troopers do. So this begs the question: are they, you know, is the inhibitor chip just a one-time deal? As far as like, okay, when we have these magical orders, that is when it kicks in, or is it a little bit of both brainwashing and just this inhibitor chip? I think it's inhibitor chip does its thing when those commands come out, but it is the will of the person to kind of fight that and say, you know what, I don't believe in this anymore. That's where I find really really interesting. And again, I just wish they explored that more, a little bit more in the sequel trilogy. I don't know. That's my thoughts. I just love Hauser. I love that he comes to it on his own, which is also very important. It's not forced upon him. He's just like, I don't like this rampart. I don't like these orders. Yeah, it is very interesting that he makes that stand there, and he also provides a distraction. Um, yeah, it's just very, very, very cool about that. So Hauser gets arrested with the rest of the clone troopers that did defect, and I think this is where, with only 4 episodes left, or well, yeah, 4 episodes left. I'm wondering if we're going to see if they're going to test the clones, or we're going to see another expunge of the clones, because again, when we reach Rebels territory, we're only down to like 3 clones with Rex and 2 others, and so I don't know what's going to happen here if Rampart and Tarkin are going to say, hey, yeah, these other clones that are still around, maybe we should just get rid of them because um, it's going to be very very interesting how that's going to play out, or maybe they're not going to do that until season 2. I kind of feel like we're going to get a season 2. I don't know. it's I haven't really looked too deep into it if they're gonna do just one season or another season, but that's a very interesting thing to see if the clones are going to be expunged and if we're going to see that, or they're just going to, I don't know. I feel like we're going to see a little bit more of that in the with the Empire, and just how, again, how do we get the recruits? Well, how do the clones stay, or are they just going to run off their life cycle and say, okay, well, we're gonna put all these guys on the front line and take care of that, and we'll go from there. So the distraction is successful. They get everybody out. Um, they Syndulla's want to pay Rex and the crew, and he's like, "You're gonna need this more than we are." And then Hera and Omega have this very kind of nice, touching moment at the end. Just thank you for actually paying attention to me and coming to help me. That means a lot, and I think that, again, that just shows the tenderness of Omega and what she is, and it also shows like Hera in that. So yeah, that it's there's this really interesting part right at the end, and I don't know, going back to kind of hybrid or chip, what's right, what's wrong, that kind of thing. So Crosshair asks Rampart if he can go personally hunt him. And then there's this one shot as it ends the episode, and it kind of hangs on Crosshair. So the question is he mad that he's on this kind of vengeance kick too, or if how can I put it? Or is he really struggling with the idea? Like, again, similar to Hauser came to his own conclusions as far as what is happening um, with the Empire. Is Crosshair also having those same doubts? I don't know. I kind of felt like he was struggling a little bit, like trying to figure out, like, well, these are my friends, or is it something that I need to just do because they're rogue and they're not following orders. So I don't know. Be interesting to see. Again, really enjoying this episode. I really wish we got. I just love this conflict between what the Republic was standing for and now what the Empire is doing. I love that kind of underlining tone, and we're getting to see that explored a little bit more, which is super, super cool. So yeah, really, really appreciate that. So hopefully a little bit more. We only got a couple more episodes left, but yes, we can definitely uh, see that play out. I don't know where it's gonna go. I don't know if we're gonna get another cameo. I know we're getting sometimes a little cute with like, oh, here's this person. Um, I don't know if we're gonna get any more cameos going into the last couple episodes, but you definitely see the what Hera, that foundation right there about helping other people out is definitely what drives Hera into what a leader she becomes in Rebels. So I love kind of that world building, that character building there. But yeah, there's still quite a bit left to go. And again, I don't know. We still have to kind of. I feel like we still got to touch with the Caminos again and figure out what's going on with them. And yeah, there's still a lot to explore, and I'm really digging these kind of smaller episodes building to a bigger story. So we do have a question in chat. Here we go. And this is coming from Dark Sage 9117. Thanks for it. Says, I'm a WWE fan who looks to see the exact opposite of fans want. I honestly would like to see Roman Reigns break Brock Lesnar's record of 504 days as Universal Champion. So personally, I want Reigns to keep winning and keep his reign going. My question is, if Cena's wins, which is what I expect, is that the indication that Lesnar's 504 days reign will never be broken? Is Roman going to be that long as champion something the fan want to see? I personally want him to get over 509, 500 days, and lose the title. So, good question. This is similar to kind of like also I would say like CM Punk's run too, where he had the title for over a year, which was amazing. As a mark, that Roman Reigns is this kind of promise child in a sense, like the chosen one, just like Anakin Skywalker here. And people don't like it, and I really personally like the kind of bad guy heel Roman Reigns. I think it goes over better with his character because they're booing him anyways, so you might as well make him a heel, and he doesn't care. Um, I I find it interesting that they tied him with Paul Heyman, similar to Brock. So it makes for a good. I think it also makes it makes for a good character growth for him with Heyman at his side. He's slimy. It works great. I love that. He's also kind of bringing in his family, head of the table, that he brings them in and kind of does his dirty work as well. So I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if even like if Brock would come back, I don't know if they would even pull that off. I was really surprised with Cena. I knew that was coming. I was thinking it was more going to be more at Money or at SummerSlam, but it makes more sense to bring him back here, build that up so you have a good SummerSlam event. I don't know. I just don't know if they're going to flip the title to Cena like right away. They've done that in the past. They it doesn't surprise me. I mean, Cena was definitely over with the crowd. He even said in his like kind of after it went dark, but he basically said, "Hey, it's great that you guys don't tell me that I suck. They're actually cheering for him. It's good to have him back. I was really hoping Cena actually would be heel and come back like his old school rapper type kind of Marky Mark kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. I think we're really really close to that 500-day mark, and if they want to kind of cement Reigns, I think they'll do it. Vince really likes Roman, so but Cena sells the merch and is the crowd favorite. So could go either way with that. I mean, it is essentially all about the merch as well. I think that's where like even like Nikki James' character with the superhero thing, that's going to stick for a while because she's again, it's good. Good looks good. Anything that looks good on a T-shirt and looks good on television, I think that's where kind of Vince's head is at. I mean, but yeah, that's a great question, Dark Sage. I don't know. I think we're gonna see Roman beat Lesnar. I really do. I think that's he's gonna break that mark, and then maybe after SummerSlam, Cena gets in there. Um, I still think Edge. Uh, Obviously, they're gonna do Edge and Seth Rollins here, but I would love to see because Edge is definitely turning to more of a heel, and I think it would be kind of cool actually to see a Cena Edge thing happening as well. I don't know if they're going to go there, but it's definitely looking like Cena wants a piece